Hi, I'm Adi Gamash,
Hi, I'm Orah Donovan.
and we are part of the Yari project. I wanted to be a part of the Yari project because uh, of my ADHD and other things that make my learning experience unique.
I joined YAR because I'm LGBT and ADHD.
Our question for our project is, how do schools' impressions of students and disabilities impact accessibility? And the reason uh, why this is important to us is because both of us were denied 504s earlier in our education. Me, when I was in elementary school, I was denied a 504 because what they told my parents was that I didn't they said I didn't need help, that I was doing okay enough as it was, so they didn't think I needed it.
And I was denied a 504 plan because I didn't fit the requirements, even though I did.
We wanted to find out how widespread a problem this was, and what might hypothetically stand in the way of a student receiving a 504 or an IEP, and what we could do possibly to try and fix that. But as we learned, it's not just this one singular thing or this one issue. It's a result of bigger problems within the education system, as we'll go over soon. In order to get data, we wanted to ask people who originally we wanted to send out a survey to schools in Providence and to ask students and teachers about their experiences with the school system. But unfortunately, due to certain permissions, were only allowed to we were only allowed to talk to Met faculty and students. We sent out one survey to Met teachers and one survey to Met students, uh, asking for people to respond if they had experience with uh, regular public schools rather than just the Met. This is the teacher. This is some of the teachers' responses. We can move on to the students. We got a lot of responses from students, but because of a quirk in our survey, we didn't have our data was messed up. As you can see here, there are some blank answers that we're going to fill in later as we sift through it a little bit. Anyway, what we saw from both teachers and students is that the majority of them believed that there was an inequality in education. All right. The interviews really were very eye-opening for me, as multiple teachers, both during our interviews and just talking with my advisor and other advisors outside of the project. When it comes to deciding whether or not a student gets a 504, it really comes down to how expensive it would be to fulfill that 504. It has nothing to do with the student themselves or the extent of their ability or their difficulties. It has to do with how much funding or how much budget the school has and how much it would cost to help that student.
So, with that said, teachers still greatly impact a student's learning and education experience. I know they certainly did for me. I recently did a presentation, and I remember being told by a teacher how bad I was at presenting, how worthless my words were, how unintelligent I sounded. And it really made me feel like I couldn't ever present again. And it was a horrible experience that lasted into my first year at the Met. And then I did a presentation here at the Met and realized that how wrong that was, how cruel that was, and how much that I actually am a good presenter. It really impacted how I feel about presenting. I feel a lot more confident presenting now, and the other teacher's words really hurt, and they still stick with me. And even though the other teachers have said that I'm a very good presenter, it's still with me and still impedes my ability to present. And that being said, teachers do have a position of power, and they are authority figures. They are your second guardian throughout the day, and when they treat you like garbage for whatever reason, it leaves a lasting impact.
While teachers might not be able to control what accommodations their students receive, they certainly have the ability to help them and create a better environment for them. In the end, we discovered that over the course of our interviews, that in order for students to really get the education they need, regardless of disability or learning difference or anything like that, for every student, they need to be given the individual care and attention for their education to be individualized for them. And that just can't happen within the way things are currently. The biggest barrier between a student is not, as I originally thought, how the teacher or the faculty or the school perceives the student. It's how much resources are available. And that's not only money, it's also time, it's also how many students are in the class, how many students the teacher has to think about and care for, and it's important to understand that it's the way that we function now, the way our schools function now, not the Met, but the public school system. It's incredibly outdated. It does not make sense for the world we live in currently. And it makes sense to me that a lot of the students, both in the survey and those that we talked to, feel like the Met was better, because at the Met, the classes are small enough and you have enough resources to give each student the attention and the understanding that they deserve and that they need to learn.
So, our conclusion throughout all of this, and the conclusion we came to, is that this isn't a simple fix. It's a whole system-wide problem, and we really need to take an entirely new look at education in general. One-size-fits-all learning doesn't work anymore, and it probably never did work. And now that we know that it doesn't really work, it's time for change. It's time to teach to the present times rather than teaching to the past, which is what we're doing. We're teaching to children in the past. And it's not a simple fix, because we just have to look at everything. Our suggestion is to make class sizes smaller. That seemed to be the general consensus, or trying to make it so that students are actually checked in on, boosted up, at least seen in some way.
Yeah. Thank you for watching our presentation. And I hope that our research and the stories that we've shared and the stories that the people we've interviewed have shared has helped probably not change anything grand scale, but has changed how at least you have thought about this. And maybe in the future, that there will be better funding, really. But thank you for watching, and we're so grateful for this opportunity.